In this video, I'm going to talk about low self-esteem, self-doubt, depression, and anxiety as it concerns us musicians and give you some extremely valuable insights to overcome them. Hey, and welcome to Music Space, where we help working musicians just like you learn how to quickly and easily make a living with your craft. So if you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. So self-doubt, low self-esteem, and depression are things that we all tend to deal with from time to time, especially as artists and creators and musicians. I don't think that people really realize that we as artists and musicians are some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. We constantly and consistently put ourselves on the front lines of judgment. Inherent in what we do as artists is the phenomenon of, hey, look at me, look at what I can do, and what do you think of this? And eyes are always on us, no matter if we're playing in a club or a bar or even in church. And those eyes, more often than not, are looking on us with some form of judgment. And that puts us in sort of this precarious predicament of always being in this state of feeling like we have some measure we have to live up to. And in most cases, the only way that we know we're living up to whatever this measure is through the accolades and the cheers of others. You know, when people tell us how great we are, how good we are at our crafts, and how we made them feel with what we do, those things are our barometers. So guess what happens when those cheers and accolades are not as loud, or they start to fade, and we look around and we see others getting cheered on and getting all of those accolades? Well, we start to second guess ourselves. Now, add to all of this that we are largely underpaid and we go largely unappreciated in a lot of the things that we do. So all of the hard work and hours of honing our crafts and talents largely go unnoticed, unthanked, and undervalued. Nevertheless, I think we as artists and musicians can and should learn to deal with this predicament in better and more efficient ways. So I want to share with you 5 extremely important tips to help you overcome low self-esteem, self-doubt, depression, and anxiety. But just a quick disclaimer, I am not a doctor, nor do I have any sort of formal training in diagnosing depression or anxiety or anything like that. The information I'm about to share with you is purely anecdotal, but I do firmly believe that if you apply it correctly, you will see major changes in your life and see them quickly. So the first thing you want to do is develop a more accurate picture of reality. And what I mean by this is we tend to see the world in this sort of skewed perception. We have all of these misconceptions of things and people and how things operate. And a lot of times those things work against us and how we feel. And they cause this sort of anxiety and depression and self-doubt that we have. So for example, a belief like you have to be extremely talented and extremely great to make lots of money or make it in the music industry. Perceptions like that work against us. So what happens is when you don't feel you're that good, you start to believe that, okay, I can't make it. I can't make a lot of money. But those things are just not an accurate picture of reality. These sort of standards that we set for ourselves are arbitrary and mostly not even our own. We don't set these standards for ourselves. When we say things like that, we're going by somebody else's dream or picture of how things operate. We've experienced people saying these things to us or whatever the case may be, and we just hold them as beliefs. And the truth is, never before in history has there been a time where there is equal opportunity for artists and musicians to thrive. With the advent of things like social media and, the independent artist revolution, artists are really thriving and musicians are thriving. So you don't have to succumb to this sort of perception that the world or the musician world is shaped a certain way. You can make your own way. But part of that is taking the time to really think through and understand the musician world and the world in general that we live in. Now, another thing is you have to realize that other people's opinions is not your reality. Internalizing other people's thoughts and perceptions and opinions about you is one of the worst things that you can do, especially as an artist and as a musician. People will have something to say about what you do, no matter how good or how bad you are. One of the things that I say all of the time is that you can be, on a mission saving, children in third world countries or something, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there will be somebody who has a negative opinion about it or say that you should be doing it a certain way. It's just how things are. You have to firmly believe in yourself and in your talents and in your skills, and believe that what you're doing and how you're doing it is the right way. It's not that you're not open to learning and growing. It's that you're standing on what you've learned to be true and your own purpose, and you're open to growing out of those things or into something new. And your worth as a musician is not determined by somebody else's approval. If it were, you would be at the mercy of other people's thoughts and opinions for your entire life. And understand that this applies to all of the good opinions and perceptions as well. You know, internalizing all of those good things and letting your head get blown up and all of that can shape your perspective into a skewed reality as well. And the thing here to get is you are independent. You are separate from other people's thoughts and opinions and perceptions. And before we go on to the next tips, if you're getting value out of this video so far, jump down and give it a like, because that lets me know that you appreciate this type of content, and it lets me know the type of videos to create for you in the future. Okay, so the next tip is you have to stop comparing yourself to others. You know, comparison is sort of this funny thing. There can be value in comparison when you're using it as a gauge to sort of, gauge where you want to be and gauge some things you want to achieve. But the reality is most of us don't do that. In most cases, what we do is we compare with judgment. We look at the things that other people have, the other things that people can do with their, instrumentation or their musicality and all of that kind of stuff. And we judge them, and then we judge ourselves. And the problem with comparison in that manner is it puts the focus on the wrong person. I mean, what we do as artists and musicians takes lots of time, lots of energy, and lots of focus. So what happens is when you're using that focus and placing it on someone else's, ability or their opinion or their thoughts or all of that kind of stuff that they can do, it takes the focus off you. Now, watch how this cycle happens. So you take the focus off you, you put it on them, and then you judge yourself. And then by putting less focus on you, you're not improving, you're not getting better, and you're still judging yourself. So you have this sort of cycle of making things worse by comparing in that manner. And in most cases, the comparison is a comparison of an inaccurate picture, or at least an incomplete picture. We look at people and their abilities and the things that they have and the things that they can do, and we tend to look at that sort of highlight reel versus, looking at the process that they used to get to that point, or how long it took them to get to that point. We simply look at all of these, social media videos, like the YouTube videos of all of these artists, and people are killing, people are chopping it up on their instruments, and they're beasting and all of this kind of stuff. And then we're looking at that saying, oh my God, I can't do that stuff, or I'm not that good. And we're comparing with that judgment. So you see how that cycle works. But it's sort of an inaccurate picture because you don't know the journey of those people and what it took for them to get to that point. And the thing is, there will always be somebody who is better than you at what you do. There will be people who have been doing it longer, who can do it more naturally, who have better teachers, whatever the case may be. But there also may be people who may not be as evolved as you, may not be as talented as you. There's always this spectrum in musicianship and in growth. The thing is, you can't judge your position on that spectrum. You just have to keep moving on the spectrum. Now, another tip is stop being judgmental. When you're always judgmental and always judging others, it brings this fear that other people are always judging you. And that's where this whole perfectionist mentality comes from. I did a video on why perfectionism is bad for musicians, and I'll link it above. But one of the things I said in that video is, why you have to stop being a perfectionist is because of things like this. You have to stop being judgmental because that puts that judgment on you as well. And it puts that pressure on you to, make you think that you have to be perfect and you have to be, the best at what you do so that you can avoid that judgment and, criticism from other people. But when you stop being judgmental, you stop seeing the world in that way. Because what also tends to happen is when we judge others, we tend to judge ourselves as well. When we look at other people and we're critical of them, we're just as critical with ourselves and our own abilities and our own talents. So what you have to do is accept people for who they are and accept yourself for who you are. Now, the last tip is you have to keep improving. This is one of the only sure remedies to things like self-doubt and second-guessing yourself and feeling less than. You have to keep improving. You have to take responsibility for how good or how great you become because you're the only person in control of it. Only you have the power to unlock your potential. You know, one of the things I say to musicians all the time is just strive to get 1% better each time, each performance, each gig, whatever it is that you're doing, just strive to get 1% better. And it could be anything. You know, if it's a song that you've played 100 times where you get to this section, that's a section that you always mess up, just focus on getting that one section of the song right the next time you play it. If it's a scale or something you want to learn, or if you know a scale and you can't play it that well, focus on that 1%, just getting that one scale, nailed down. So the next time that you play it, you sound better when you're playing it. And again, it's a small thing. So like if you're a singer, just focus on getting a section of the song right, getting that one riff in that song right that you're singing. Little things like that help you incrementally get better. And that's the way, we musicians learn. We tend to think that we're supposed to, level up overnight, or in 30 days, we're supposed to be virtuosos. But in reality, it happens in these little incremental periods where you're getting, 1% better, 2% better. And then over time, those percentages add up. And then before you know it, you're killing it, you're beasting it. So just focus on getting 1% better for every gig, every performance, every practice, and wait for those increments to add up. Look, the road of a musician is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And like a marathon, the runners aren't racing against each other necessarily. What they're doing is running with the objective of finishing the race. So guess what they're doing? They're concentrating on 1 mile at a time, getting the next mile until it adds up to that marathon. And sure, there's other runners on the road who have, natural advantages like, longer legs that allow them to run faster, or naturally shaped muscles and things like that that help them run faster. And just like as a musician, there's going to be people on the road in that game that started before you, who are better than you, who have natural talents and abilities or natural just advantages over you. But none of these other people's advantages or positions make you any less of a musician. Who you are and what you do as a musician brings value to the game and to the marathon. And there's plenty room for you on this road, in this race, for your talent, your abilities, and your skills. And you don't have to be like anybody else but you. Your life, your story, your skills, your talents are needed in this game. So I hope that you got value out of this video. Jump down in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.